Well, I had a choice tonight of the longer reading of the second reading of Paul to the Ephesians, or the shorter one. And I bit the bullet and chose the longer one, which talks about subordination. Sometimes in religion, you just have to tackle hard things and also know that there are mysteries that we may not completely solve in our own minds. I would like to talk about subordination, being under the orders. I know as kids, when we were growing up, there sometimes a question came, well, who made you the boss? Who's the boss? You know, who's the boss? I had a family who had a Down syndrome child. Actually, they were an adult, but they still were like a child, and they were trying to help her to prepare for First Holy Communion, you know, right and wrong and things like that, to see if she could receive the sacrament, be able to understand it. And so one time, well, what are you learning in your class? Well, God made the sun and the stars, and they went through about every animal in the zoo, and the dogs and the cats and the butterflies. Well, what else did you learn? Oh, God's the boss. That's what she said. God's the boss. I said, all right, you get to go to communion. You know, we're either ordering the world according to our own design, or we're under the orders of God, under His order. Chaos is terrible. That's one of the wonderful things about our Catholic school system in Bethlehem, is that I know that order is a value, right? That there's order, there's rules, there's guidance, and it creates an atmosphere, first of all, that there isn't chaos. Because it's really hard to learn anything in chaos, no matter where you are, at home, at school, anywhere else. We need order. Well, who's going to bring order to it? Well, ultimately, we believe God's order is the best order. He is the one who can bring order out of chaos. And so we are subordinate to God. Jesus himself was obedient to the Father. He was under his orders. And we see the great resurrection that occurred, and how the benefit that Christ's way shows us. As hard as it is, and we heard it was pretty hard, wasn't it? There were people who found it very difficult to take what he said in and to believe and to follow that way. When it comes to the orders, I was ordained, and I'm under a vow of obedience. I thought about that before. I said, do I want him to be my boss? Do I want a boss? And I accepted that vow of obedience for the sake of the church, of the family of God. And that obedience in general has not been too difficult. Occasionally I've had to pray about it. I have my own ideas, by the way. So I pray about it. And I've been amazed how God has guided me into obedience and the blessing that it is. Now, we always knew that Mama, even though Pawpaw was the head of the family, it was Mama that wore the breeches. Even the grandkids could tell that. But what I noticed, how their partnership matured and developed, and it really wasn't about who the boss was. It was, what gifts can we bring to this marriage and to one another? How can we be partners? How can we share the burdens and the joys of the world? That's when it looked the best. Same way with my mom and dad. You know, their partnership. When Daddy was involved, responsible for everything, it was a heck of a burden. It'd been better had he asked Mom to help him. And he learned that actually in their marriage. Daddy's in heaven now, so he knows I think the truth. You can let me know after Mass. But what I noticed is that once they developed that partnership, how much better it was for Dad and for Mom. That's what following Christ is about, isn't it? It's about obedience, listening. Obedience means to listen. That's the root word of it, to listen, to really listen, to really listen. And when you really listen, half the time or 3/4 of the time, you'll know what to do. You'll know what to do. You'll do the right thing and the good thing. And I saw that happen in my own parents' marriage. Something that I use as a model for myself as I am under the orders, subordinate to not only a bishop but to Christ. My father had a funny little saying. He had a lot of pride in his children, and he thought that we'd done pretty well. And he often gave Mom the credit, but Mom would give Daddy the credit a lot too. It really took both of them, plus our schools and a lot of other people, really. But he said, Daddy would say, you can't hitch them wrong. And I knew I was supposed to understand that, hitch them. You can't hitch them wrong. So I asked my younger brother, I said, what does that mean exactly? And Martin said, a team of horses, you've got a lead horse and an off horse. Have you ever hitched horses here? Have any of y'all ever hitched horses? Had a team of horses? Have you had one? You know what a lead horse is? You know, okay, all right. See, I thought somebody would know besides me. But anyway, so one horse, by their personality, you can depend on that one to lead. The off horse will take its. And sometimes you have to encourage that off horse to do its equal job because that lead horse is pulling. All right, the off horse sometimes needs a little encouragement. Pick up, pull your weight too. Am I right? Very good. So Daddy said his kids, any of them could be the lead horse because they were all going to pull their weight. See, that's what partnership is, isn't it? I think that's what God calls us to do. To all be, to do our part. And sometimes it's this one's going to take the lead and that other time that one's going to take the lead. Depending on the gifts. And I saw that in my parents. It's something that I want, to follow myself. So you and I are called by God called by God to be partners with God and to serve Him well for the good order and for the blessing of the world. Because chaos and disorder, very ugly thing.